You're listening to the MPD Connect Podcast, hosted by Public Information Officer Tim Aycock.
Thank you for being here with us today.
I appreciate it.
Go ahead and tell all the viewers and listeners who you are and a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Quincy Smith. I work for Matthews Police Department in the background and recruitment unit. I'm from Hampton, South Carolina. Been in law enforcement going on 13 years now.
So for those that don't know, you had a very traumatic experience, earlier in your career when you were in South Carolina. Tell us a little bit about that, because I want to talk about, obviously, your new role as the background investigator and recruiting person, but I want to talk about really what the emphasis is on how important this job is to you as a person, your family, and your background. Okay. To go through something like that and then have the sense to come back to do it, that, it's that much of a passion for you and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So my incident occurred on 2016, January 1st, New Year's Day. I worked in a very small town. Not a lot of people know about this town. It's like 3 square miles and a couple thousand people that live in the immediate area. We had a total of 8 officers for that town, and then, being that we're so small, we didn't have the staffing to cover, multiple officers on a shift. So I worked as the only officer for that day for the entire town. It was like a normal day. I received a call about a guy trying to snatch a bottle of liquor. I went to try to go talk to the guy. I went up to the scene, and the witness said he tried to snatch a man's bottle of liquor. The man that he tried to snatch the liquor from left the store, and he went walking away. I saw him in the corner over there, so I went over to talk to him, and he just didn't want to talk. And when I got close enough to him, he just pulled the gun out and shot at me 8 times. He hit me 3 times.
Right. So when that happens, we all talk about in law enforcement and the training and experience of it to try to, be prepared for that fight or flight. I can only imagine, me not experiencing anything like that, thank God. I can only imagine, what your brain kind of goes into survival mode. And really, once you went through all that and then your recovery process, did you think, was it like, all right, I'm going to get right back on the horse and I'm going right back to that job when I can, or I'm kind of see where my life is at and my mindset, or how did that kind of play out?
I would say kind of both. Of course, it was very traumatic, so I had, some things I had to deal with emotionally and mentally to get back. But I didn't want to give up the job, because I got into the job. I did know it's a possibility it could happen. Never thought it would happen to me, but I thought it was a possibility. But, I loved it so much. I enjoyed it, and I didn't let that fear overtake me to keep me from it. So that's where I was at. I still want to do it. I love it, and I just came back.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how, talking to someone that's, thinking about getting into it, what would you say to them about, how big of an impact that this is on your life, about, going through that and coming back? And then, I'm sure you looked at the job totally different after that. You looked at your community connections totally different to that. Even your own family, being in that position. I'm sure everything looked a lot different through your lens.
Oh, yes, definitely. So I would tell someone who's getting into the career, you do have to be mentally prepared, because anything can happen, and this job is stressful, and it can take a toll on you. You just have to be mentally tough, and you have to have the will and desire to want to do it. That's what's going to drive you to become successful, and and push you to do things that you never thought you want to do in this career. And like I said, and being a part of the community, like talking to people randomly, just showing the presence, getting to know someone, that goes a long way, because people do remember you. People do remember your first impression on them and how you interacted with them, and that will take you a long way. It's been working in this job for 13 years. I've had more positive interactions and gotten a lot of feedback when I've needed something from the community. This day and age, sometimes the community doesn't want to give you any information, but because they know me, they'll be, "Oh, Officer Smith, hey, what's going on, man?" And we'll have a conversation. I say, "Hey, do you know anything about whatever?" And they say, "You know what? Listen, I did hear this, whatever. Thank you, man. I appreciate you, man." All right. So having those interactions like that, that really does go a long way.
Yeah. I know, we have different generations that are applying. We're kind of at that generational change where a lot of people are getting close to retirement, and it's like we have a big gap. We have a lot of new officers, and we have a lot of officers that are maybe under 5 to 7 years before they retire. So there's kind of a lot of middle space. So, and I know we've looked at recruiting efforts for that. So, people in their 30s and even early 40s, is it too late to have a career change like that when you get a little older like that, or is it the perfect time to do it?
No, it's never too late. I will say it depends on the person where they're at in their life. As long as you have the desire and the willpower to want to do this job and the passion for it, you can do it at any age. I've been to the police academy with a man who was in his 50s.
Right.
He've always wanted to do it. It just early in his life, he wasn't able to do it, but now he's starting to do his passion. And, he was successful, So it's just the will and want to do it. That's it.
So what positive impact have you had overall, just within yourself? What kind of positive impact has it had? You've worked in two totally different states, two different jurisdictions, obviously. So that may be a little bit of difference in how the job is done operationally, internally wise. But, the community itself, what kind of effect has that had on you in your career?
I would say this had definitely a positive effect because you come from two different. I come from two different demographics. Here is a more of mixed when it comes to demographics. Where I used to come from, it wasn't too mixed. So I got to see both sides. I got to interact with a lot of different cultures up here versus down there. So, but like I said, I've learned how to interact with people on a different level, going from one place to another. So that it's been positive. I've made a lot of friends. I've seen a lot of people, and I've had great and positive reactions from everybody. As long as you're open and willing to talk to people and get to understand them and know them, it ought to be a good positive interaction.
Right. You've been in this position how long now?
Going on 7 months.
Going on 7 months. You're liking it so far?
Oh, I'm loving it.
I know you'd like to talk to people, get out and meet people. So that's kind of right up your alley anyway.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is your pitch, your sales pitch. Why Matthews?
Why Matthews? Well, for one, Matthews, we're very community oriented. Yeah. We're very much family here. Matthews just has that medium. It's not too big, but it's not too small. Right. Everyone in the department knows each other. Everyone in the department speaks to each other. The chief, he even come up to you, speak to you, take you out to lunch. So I haven't worked any place that has with an agency that has done that. So. Right. That's what I say. The biggest part of Matthews and the community, they love us, man. They always coming in, taking care of us, doing small things, gestures, just to show their appreciation. Haven't worked too many places where I've had that, positive interaction with the community as a whole. Right. So, but Matthews, like I said, just a great camaraderie here. If you're looking for a family and a camaraderie, I would say Matthews is the biggest selling point for here. For me, why I chose Matthews, it was because it was more family oriented, and I got to engage with everybody on every level of the command staff, from the lowest to the highest. So that's why I chose here, and that's what I appreciate about Matthews.
Yeah. What would you say to someone if, I'm brand new to this idea, I want to be a police officer, and I look at the money, because everything, a lot of things in your life and most everything eventually comes to money. How are things gauged in your perspective of, how important that is to me right now in my life? So if I'm looking at it and someone pays more because, department says we know fluctuate back and forth, and the average applicant may not understand that. It depends on how board decides their payroll should be that year, or an increase or whatever it may be. So if they're chasing money, that's kind of one concept, way to look at it. But what would you tell me in terms of, if I can make a little more money over here, why should I come to Matthews instead of that place where I can make more money right now?
I will say this: it's got to be the love for the job. Like I said, every agency is different. They pay different amounts of money. It's all about finding that place where you're just happy. If you want to chase the money, that's fine, but you can have a bad experience and you can get burnt out at that point. Versus if you come to a place, you don't make hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you make a good amount of money to sustain your life and everything that you like to do, travel and stuff like that, and you're happy with it. That's just the best of both worlds. So that's what I would say. Go someplace where you're happy at. You might not find it the first place or the second place. Could be there's a lot of people who have found it their first place. Matthews is my third agency, and like I said, I was looking for some place that was very community oriented, had the camaraderie, and I'm able to interact with my command staff and have conversations like any other person on the street. So that's what I would say. That's why I chose Matthews. I was looking more for happiness than money.